Is the fire chief in here? Did you hear that statement? You don't need to react. It's okay. But did you hear what she just said? That is a valid question. It's a good observation. Why are we doing things the way we're doing them? It's a good point.
In the business to save lives. First they save the life in that house and then they put out that fire. Unless the policies have changed.
You had a question here, I think so.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Bob.
I've been told by our church, Broadmoor Baptist Church, which is the closest one to Station 4, 2 blocks.
Okay, number one, thank you for the comment, but this isn't about me, ma'am. It's really not. And next year, if we have when we have a budget approval, I won't be standing up here. Somebody else will be. And please, please, please understand that the council has a very difficult decision when they come into these chambers and they have folks who come in here and ask for special events or special interests or special needs. It's very difficult for them to tell someone no when a very good cause is at hand, including the fact that you want your church protected as well. When it comes to the police, what we've asked the chief to do, and we've asked the entire staff and the chief, is to look at some ways that we can economize within the police department. We've given you an example where we have 22 people who are now working in the dispatch. And we have a former dispatch person sitting back here in the room. What we realized from HR, and Cheryl was, I think I saw her here a minute ago, there she is. That must be one of the most difficult jobs we have in the city, because of the 22 people that we have working, we have had 40 different people rotate in that department in the last 2 years. That's tremendous turnover and a lot of the expense for retraining. So it must not be running like a sewing machine. So we're saying, okay, let's get it running like a sewing machine with a county-wide system that, quite frankly, every one of you in here who are paying a telephone bill are already paying for the 911 system. They've got $20 million worth of accrued income in that area to build a state-of-the-art dispatch system. Probably won't take but about 30 employees instead of 77 that it's taken today. But we want the best in the world, okay? That would be a reduction of the folks that are right now in the police department by 22. Now, I'm not in the police department. Some of you who are close to it could react to this. Most of us, from a police standpoint, much like fire, when we call 911, we want a policeman or a policewoman at our house or at our accident or whatever as quick as we can get them there. We want more people patrolling up and down our streets to deter crime. We want our people bringing in the bad guys. Some of those things need to be decentralized, meaning you can be more efficient if you're closer to where the incident is happening. But this is just a harebrained idea, and I may be full of baloney, okay? But I'm going to make a statement here. What would happen if we took the Harrison County Sheriff's Department, the police departments in Pascagoula, Long Beach, Gulfport, Biloxi, and D'Iberville, and maybe even into the other counties, and had a narcotics task force for South Mississippi, instead of each individual department having to have their own narcotics task force? That doesn't mean you no longer work for the Gulfport Police Department. It just means if we're going after the druggies, who certainly don't stop at DeBees Road, we'll go after them wherever they are. That's the kind of consolidation that we need to think about. Now, I know I hadn't talked to the chief about this. The chief probably would say, I want my own men working for me. All of us want that, but if we can get a more efficient system for less money that does a better job, what's the downside? So let's look at that. Now, the council in their wisdom have helped us with this. They have hired, we have hired, and they've concurred, an individual who works in municipal services with his firm to show you ways you can do the job easier, better, more efficient. His report will be out before Thanksgiving. And the first two places that he started was with police and fire, because those are the largest two departments we have. He's going to come forward with some suggestions. I can tell you, as citizens and as employees, some of those suggestions might be different than the way we used to do them. If they are different, instead of digging in and say, I don't want to change, be man and woman enough to come up here and support the council when they support a change, to support the administration when we support a change. If we're in the fix that we're in financially right now, dependent upon the national economy to bring us out, gosh, that's an unknown. How long is this thing going to last? I don't know, but I don't want to wait on Washington to fix us. I want us to fix it right here at home. And I know that's what those men and women on the council want. But they need your support as citizens to back them in the tough decisions. And there will be some tough ones. Yes, Claudia.
Mr. Mayor, I love all your enthusiasm about the downtown area, about things that are going to happen in the harbor, and all the things that are happening in the city.
But, go ahead. I understand.
That save my neighborhood.
I understand.
Lightning strikes, and it has several times on our street, and they're there. They're right there. So this is a neighborhood thing. I'm going to leave because I've got a car full. I don't want you to think I'm mad and leaving. But I just want to say this to you. This is a neighborhood.
And let me answer what Ms. Keys is saying. This morning I asked the question, let's take what we're hearing from the Fire Station 4 zone. I won't call it Broadmoor, but from the Fire Station 4 zone, the zone that is right close to that. Let's take a look at whether or not the citizens in that area want a separate fire district for that zone. And maybe there's legally a way we can do that. And if we can, that would be a way of saving the station without being a burden to the remaining taxpayers in Gulfport that don't have that same close service. Not suggesting we do it, but I say let's check it out and see. Other municipalities have separate fire districts and they have separate taxing for that. And if it's worth it to have a station closer to your house, maybe you're willing to pay a little more taxes. I don't know, but that's an alternative. I'm not suggesting that's the answer, and I'm not suggesting we're going to close the station. What I'm suggesting is we've got some problems. Let's be smart enough to face them objectively and try not to hurt anybody in doing so. Yes, ma'am, a question.
Mr. Mayor, my name is Siobhan Bailey. I'm neighbors with Claudia Keys, and I fully support keeping our fire station. And I have a thought that I would hope you would take into consideration.
Okay.
We have a lot of terrible speeders along 2nd Street in Gulfport. And I don't let my young children out on the street unless I'm there. And Claudia doesn't let her grandsons out either. And you know what? If we could get a police officer there, boy, oh boy, you could pay for a lot of city funds. Get out of that. And then you would provide a safer neighborhood for our children and our grandchildren.
Valid comment, and thank you for that.
All the tickets, that would be wonderful. And that would, I'm sure over time, that would pay for the fire station.
Okay, two more questions and then we're going to shut it down, and I want to tell you how much I appreciate you coming.
Question. Are you saying that, are you willing to reconsider closing Station 4? I'm not sure you made that clear.
I'm willing to look at every option available to us, but right now I would have to say to you that from an efficiency standpoint of meeting the state and national fire codes, we are overcommitted in that area. And that's been verified by the experts, not by us, by the experts. And we need to look at that because that's a $500,000 expense when we're already up against the ropes. But I was committed to consolidating it into a closer station 3 years ago. We've missed that opportunity, but maybe there are other opportunities. Yes, sir. And one more after that.
I'm new to Gulfport. My name is Steve Edward. I live in the Broadmoor area, and I had the pleasure of attending the city council meeting last week and this week. And this is sort of a new issue for me, so I've just been sitting back and listening. And an observation that I've had is it was very interesting.
Yeah. Dr. Kelly has made a point that we haven't covered in some of the answers that we've given to some of your previous questions. When the city operates with a 2-week reserve, meaning a 2-week rainy day fund, what we have done is not only pushed ourselves against the wall on being able to pay our current bills, we have also pushed ourselves against the wall on the bond rating that is given to the city and our ability to borrow money in the future. and the future will be here soon. Now, because of the good bond rating that we have had in the past, we've recently borrowed $10 million to pave the major roads in our city and some in your wards. We got an extremely good rate of interest on that $10 million. And you might say, well, why are you borrowing money if you're already in the hole? We only borrowed as much as we were already paying off in earlier bond issues or could refinance. So we're not any different in the total amount of debt we have after the $10 million than we were before the $10 million. But what's on the horizon is this. Chris Riemann and some experts that we have hired have done an analysis of where we stand in the city right now with our infrastructure, roads, water, sewer, drainage under the streets. Right today, if we fixed what needs to be fixed, we'd have to have $150 million. And we don't have it, and we can't borrow it, but that will let you know how big the problem is. $150 million worth of infrastructure needs to be done in this city. Now, we're doing $10 million of it in the next few months, and that's going to help, but that still leaves $140 million that's not getting done. That's going to have to be addressed by some bond issues in the future, and we want to be sure we get a good rate, and having a better rainy day fund helps us with that rate. And you know what interest rates do like I do. The higher rate you pay, the more money it costs you. We have the Gulfport South Sewage Plant, which was built by the Army Air Corps in World War II. It's over 70 years old. It's under a federal mandate today to get nitrogen and phosphorus out of the water. And to do that by next summer. And the cost of getting that nitrogen and phosphorus out of the water runs north of $20 million. It brings in not one single penny of revenue. How are we going to pay that $20 million? If we close the old plant and turn it into a pumping station and go to the new plant on the north side of Gulfport Lake, the cost will probably be about $100 million, but at least we'd have a modern plant then instead of a 70-year-old plant. That's a decision that's going to have to be made by this council in the next few weeks, and it's a tough one, and it involves borrowing money. In Katrina, the government came down and said, we know you're going to be under hard times, and so we'll lend you some money to operate. And Gulfport got $16 million to operate, to pay their bills right after Katrina. For the first time in the history of the United States, the government has not come back and said, we decided instead of a loan, we're going to make that a gift. It's still a loan. And the interest that is accrued from the time we borrowed the money until the time we start having to pay it back in a couple of years, we'll run it up to $21 million. We've got to have the money to pay that $21 million back. That's why the rainy day fund is so important, to protect that bond interest rate and to protect our ability to pay our current bills as well. I don't want you to leave here with your chins down thinking, my gosh, we are really in trouble. But I will tell you the situation is serious, folks. It's very serious. And this city council that sits up here has to deal with those serious issues every time they meet. And we have to deal with it every day in the administration. There aren't any easy answers. I wish there were. The easiest answer we have is get more sales tax. And that's beginning to work. But we can't get enough quick enough to get us out of this dilemma, so we're saying we need to downsize a little bit. Robert, and last question.
Same thing goes on at Warsaw. We had somebody passed out something about 2 weeks ago. There comes the fire trucks, and about the same time you see those AMR and the fire trucks in there at the same time. So the injuries, we don't need fire trucks. We have one fire.
Robert's pointing out something that's an absolute fact, folks, and if you don't see it, you may not realize it's there. But last Thursday night at Gulfport High School on the field, a little boy in the 5th grade, I think he was, laid on the field with a doctor there, laid on the field because they were afraid to move him for 25 minutes. We've got some serious work to do on our emergency response, and I don't think we can count on the fire department to be the bailout of how that system works. And so we're going to address it, and it's going to be unpopular, but we want to close by saying this. To the employees in the room, we've given you an update on where you stand. We're extremely proud of every one of you, and we don't think you ought to have to operate for 4 years in a row without a salary increase. We think we need some merit increases in this city, and we need them soon, but we need to be able to pay you those increases, and we're going to work to do it. We're proud of you for what you do, and we wouldn't trade you for anybody anywhere else in the country. You're top drawer. To the members of the City Council, we understand the problems that they face every single day and every time they come up here to these meetings. And to you, the citizens, you're only a handful of the 70,000, but at least you're here, and we appreciate you being here. And of those 70,000, we would say we're trying to come up with a better system for you so that our city can continue to grow and prosper. When you're the 2nd largest city in the state, in a tourist area, you have great opportunities. We want to take advantage of those opportunities. And to those of you who have come today, I would invite you to come back more often. Come in the mayor's office every Monday from 4 o'clock with the doors are wide open, and you can come in and throw rotten eggs at me if you want to, and you won't be alone if you do it. You're also invited to come to the City Council meetings and to express yourself, because you'd be amazed how few people do come to City Council meetings, and many of those come with their particular projects in mind instead of the overall city in mind. We understand a person wanting to worry about their ditch and their trash and their road. We understand that, but we also need some citizens that come in and understand the big picture and to be supportive of the tough decisions that the City Council has to make in the face of their telephone and their texts and their emails ringing or saying, do this for me now. It's a tough position for them that they have, and they need your support and your encouragement, and that's what you've given them today, and I thank you very much for coming in, for being a part of this, and for giving us your questions and giving us your support.